Whitford?
Sorry, what?
You recording?
Yeah.
And then, do we get unmute? Alright.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Okay, we are ready. Alright, good evening everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight. Appreciate it. Even though today's 50 degrees and tomorrow may be different. So I'll go ahead and get started. Today is Monday, January 31st, 2022, and the time now is 6 p.m. And I call to order this regular meeting of the Town of Mead Board of Trustees. In accordance with the town's disaster declaration dated March 21, 2020 related to the COVID-19 virus and the town's emergency electronic participation policy for regular and special meetings, this meeting will be held virtually in Zoom. Virtual access information, including the Zoom meeting link, has been provided on the town's website and designated posting places. I'd like to remind everyone present, both virtually and in person, of the town's general guidelines for the public comment at open meetings and public hearings. Copies of these guidelines are available in the back of this room and also are available online. Mary, roll call, please.
Mayor Whitlow.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams.
Here.
Trustee Babcock. Trustee Broadhead.
Here.
Trustee Cartwright.
Here.
Trustee Harris.
Here.
Mayor Whitlow, today is Monday, January 31st, 2022, and you do have a quorum.
Thank you very much, and please join me in a moment of silence, again, for those victims of the Marshall Fire who are now working to rebuild their homes and community. Thank you for your time. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move on to our review and approve agenda. On the agendas distributed last week, item 11D was also listed on the resolution 14-5-22. It should be number 15. The resolution, the packet is correct. Are there any other changes to the agenda tonight? Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda? I will motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call please, Mary.
Trustee Broadhead.
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams.
Yes.
Trustee Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Motion carries. Next will be our staff report by the town manager. Colleen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Trustees. You have my report. There are a couple of things I'd like to point out, actually, that just have happened over the weekend and late before I was able to put into my report. First of all, a shout out to Dino and Erica and Robin. They were able to issue the TCO for the Iglesia Church on Saturday. I mean, they basically worked late into the night on Friday and then all day Saturday working with them to get them across the finish line. So I know they were really thankful, but total full staff effort on our engineering team. So I'm really, really proud of that. I don't know if you've noticed, but in the news today, they're dropping mask mandates. So Denver's dropping theirs later this week. Larimer County's dropping it on Saturday, the 12th of February. And so I just bring that up because hopefully it will also be in our school system here. And maybe we can get away from some of the issues that we've been having as far as the schools and whatnot. And then finally, speaking of the schools, there was a fire alarm pulled by a student on Thursday at the middle school, but the culprit, if you will, wrote an apology letter to the police chief. So, you know, sometimes kids do things, these crazy things, but I thought that was really cool that they sent that. So, and other than that, you have my report. Do you have any questions?
Questions or comments from any of the trustees? David, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I do not.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Okay. Next will be our informational item of the evening. And it will be our wastewater rate and fee study update, and this will be introduced by our town engineer, public works director, Erica Rasmus. Good
Thank
evening.
you, good evening. As you know, tonight on your consent agenda is our annual sewer user rate and fee ordinance, where we establish the sewer rates for the year. Those are determined by a fee study, which was completed most recently in 2019. And tonight we have Andrew Ream with us from Graphically, our consultant, and he's going to present the 2021 rate and fee study update that he's been working on. So, with that, Andrew, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Erica. How am I coming through?
We can all hear you, thank you.
Okay, awesome. Well, as Erica indicated, I've got a brief update, and just wanted to start with a little bit of a project overview. I provided a bit of a presentation in early November as we were getting going, and today, you know, it's a presentation of our overall kind of findings and recommendations, and certainly know that there some action regarding rates that would go into effect March 1, as well as sewer plant investment fees. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that may come up as I'm going through the slides or at the end, and go from there. So, in terms of, you know, as Eric indicated, we had provided a similar study in 2019 and kind of laid out the course for the near term, as well as evaluated roughly a 10-year study period. So the town had taken action, adjusted rates first effective in 2020, again in 2021, and are said, and I'll speak to that as I get a little bit further in the slides, to adopt the kind of final of a series of 3 6% rate adjustments that would have was set to go in effect March 1 of 2022. So, you know, why did we complete the study or kind of out-cycle accelerated update? The town had received a request, as you all know, to expand the sewer service boundaries to serve a couple customers. In one case, that was completely outside of the existing sewer boundaries, and another part of the development or portion of the development was outside of the boundaries. So this type of driver leads to some questions, and some of those may be, you know, how does this affect the capital improvement plan for the sewer utility? Is it going to affect the timing of, you know, treatment plant expansions? We're going to have to expand treatment plants faster. And with that underlying set of questions in terms of operations and specifically the capital improvements, then it brings a series of other questions about funding. What does it do to raise the overall financial plan for the utility? So to help address both of these sets of questions, the town had retained the team of JVA and Raptelis. JVA took the initial start and updated the wastewater treatment plant master plan and evaluating several things, but specifically as it relates to the financial plan and funding questions, the overall timing of future expansion of the existing plant, and any additional capital improvements that, you know, providing service outside the boundary would initiate, as well as other changes that occurred in the town since the last or the previous master plan and specific to the sewer fund. So the outcomes were incorporated in our evaluation, our study. We kind of go second when some of the other items are laid out, including growth rates. So I'm going to talk a bit about those and ultimately what this did to the overall financial plan and recommendations for rates and fees. Before I get into the details, I just have to remind everybody, Graphically is a registered municipal advisor, and we did evaluate potential future debt issuances for purposes of, long-term financial planning and rate setting. Certainly if the town, plans to or embarks on issuing debt, in the future, this is just a sort of, remind and disclose to everybody that, the town certainly should seek the advice of, financial advisors that, specialize in debt issuances and, help the, town evaluate different programs and different packages of, different types of debt. So I'm gonna start a little bit kind of high level just in terms of the financial plan, a bit of a review in terms of, when we complete these types of things, the drivers, the different things we look for. Just as a reminder for everyone who may be watching, the town, wastewater fund is an enterprise fund, and what that means is we're fully funded through our monthly user charges, other types of miscellaneous ancillary fees, and one-time sewer plant investment fees. We don't receive any support from the general fund, from taxes. It's strictly the wastewater user charges, fees, and revenues that to support the fund. And as part of that, we look as part of financial plan evaluation. Our key criteria for setting revenue and evaluating rates is trying to accomplish three things. We're looking to fund all of our expenses, including capital, any debt service, and out into the future. And then also exceed two financial performance thresholds. The first is a debt service coverage requirement. This is a legal obligation, a covenant, if you will, of the existing outstanding debt that the town has, sewer fund has, as well as it's very common and it's something that should be anticipated tied to future debt. There are also cash reserves, some of which are tied to that loan and are built into part of that kind of rate covenant or legal requirement, as well as capital reserves that recommended in our previous study, and minimum capital reserves we're recommending and integrated within the financial plan itself. So, we're looking to accomplish these three goals. Really, when you do the second two, you tend to achieve the first one as well. So just a little bit of a backdrop. In terms of some of the big drivers, when we're looking at the financial plan, part of this, we 2022 budget and following a salary survey, there were some increases with personnel and labor costs. Certainly those are a big part of any type of utility fund, and certainly the case for the town's wastewater fund. There were other expenses increasing as well, and as we're all aware, inflation, price increases, that they're affecting not just some, they're trickling through and they're affecting lots of different types of services. And so we had some increases in other expenses as well. We are forecasting, kind of higher than typical for long-range inflation to continue over the near term, and looked a little bit harder and kind of broke the expense types out for the wastewater fund. So we're anticipating anywhere from 3% inflation to 5% inflation annually for the different operating expenses or recurring expenses. The second driver, and this is not just the potential service or the service outside of existing sewer boundaries, the town has been experiencing, the wastewater utility has been experiencing pretty rapid growth in the last few years, and this is anticipated to continue. This is one of the items that JDA identified as part of their evaluation, as it influences, the timing of when a future expansion may be needed, or when the existing facility gets up against the capacity that's available, and the town gets in a position where they have to expand the facilities. It also affects new customers that may be paying or will be paying the one-time plant investment fee, as well as becoming customers and becoming ratepayers and contributing to the payment of monthly expenses. In largely what we're seeing are economies of scale. So, we've got capacity in the ground, or anticipating the need to expand it in a 10-year period. Having additional customers participate in largely what are fixed costs, improves the kind of financial plan, improves the, overall rate environment for everybody. Now, as I alluded to earlier, the major capital projects, these kind of one-time reinvestments or expansions or recurring projects have, a big effect on utility financial plans and how that's funded, but also the expenses themselves. So it's highlighted here, we've got recurring annual pipeline replacements that average about $100,000 a year, or as adjusted for inflation, are about $1 million over the 10-year planning period. The rest of the expenses are tied to the wastewater treatment facility. There was a little under $1 million of improvements that started last year and are anticipated to be completed this year. And a second set of kind of smaller improvements have been identified and are slated for 2023. It's about $200,000. And then as we continue to grow and add customers, as JD identified, the town within the 10-year period is going to need to start planning for, complete the design and construction of an expansion to the wastewater treatment facility. The expansion adds incrementally 0.25 MTD for 50% of the capacity, and the construction is anticipated to be 28 to 29. Between the planning and the design of the construction, it's roughly $7.5 million. So a big part of this overall capital improvement program and kind of how that funded, and how we may look to raise and plan investment fees to assist in that funding, or in general, or how we may be able to fund that set of large improvements, particularly at the back end of our multi-year period. And then just in general, one of the drivers, and certainly something that was identified in a previous study and we've seen, and this is a big driver with the overall rate recommendations, is getting into the practice of more frequent, in this case annual, smaller rate adjustments, rather than kind of being in a good financial position and getting to a spot where we've got to take more significant action. And that final bullet is certainly front and center with recommendations we'll see in a couple slides. So just to graphically illustrate the multi-year capital plan, we've got the amounts or the expenditures by year, an aggregate tied to the information on the previous slide. Overall, as adjusted for inflation, it's a little under $10 million, and certainly the treatment facility expansion, starting with the planning and then ultimately the construction in 28-29, is illustrated by this chart and with the high bars. That's where we're anticipating to incur those expenses. It's a little bit back-ended, but we've got some near-term improvements to the treatment facility, as well as the pipeline replacements that are integrated in the earlier years, and kind of see the ebb and flow of the annual expenditures are outlaid. So in terms of the kind of the rate side of things, we're recommending that the town kind of maintain the 6% rate adjustment that had been recommended in that sort of third year, that final year of the previous study. And then we're proposing and identifying, this kind of small and more frequent, in this case, 2% overall rate revenue adjustments annually in 23 and continuing through 2030. As I mentioned, the strong growth does a lot of things. One, it does accelerate the timing of expansion and capital improvements, but it also adds customers, and the overall financial condition of the fund is better. And so this 2% is really to maintain the kind of smaller, more frequent, and it's also, with a significant level of growth, if that were to fall off, then this financial plan, certainly may change a bit. And so in an attempt to, and desire to be a bit conservative, we're wanting to maintain those frequent, small annual adjustments. Going back to the more near-term recommendation, 6%, just with some uncertainty around inflation, increases in the budget, and if growth were to kind of stall out in the next couple of years, or we would hit a kind of downturn, we get pretty tight in the fund. So this is kind of maintaining with just the cost increases that we're all seeing in the near term, and passing that through essentially with that 6% adjustment as was previously recommended. So in terms of the March 1st, 2022 and the 6% adjustment being applied to monthly base charges as well as the volume rates, this slide shows the current monthly base charges and what those are, and then if implemented, what they would be under a 6% increase. Starting with our residential customers, there's a vast majority of the customers we have on the system. There's just really a handful of commercial and school sewer customers. So most of them are going to be either this low, or those that have winter water use at 2,000 gallons or below, or the medium, and it's about 50-50 between the two in terms of the customers that fall on this, and for these medium that are between or above 2,000 or between 2,000 and 4,000. And then the different types of commercial or schools is defined in the code, and as is administered today is recommended to be maintained and adjusted by 6% as the residential base charges are as well. On the volume side, this really just kicks in for those customers that use above 4,000 gallons, whether they be residential or the different types of commercial, low, medium, or high, as well as schools, which has the same, you may see the same volume rate is applied to the commercial medium set of users. So again, most customers are kind of at or below this minimum threshold, but certainly those that get above 4,000 gallons for each 1,000 gallons above that 4,000. And again, it's just a winter water use, so it's winter period use. Then there's an incremental $12.31 volume rate that's applied to residential customers, and we're proposing for that to be increased by 6%, taking it up about 75 cents to $13.05 per 1,000 gallons. So as we kind of bring these two sets of recommendations together with a focus in on the near term, the question of how does this affect a typical or average customer? Within this chart, we're showing really this minimum charge for residential medium customers, or those that are in that above 2,000 but less than 4,000 level. So today the bill is $45.17, and with the increase in just that minimum base charge going up for this set of customers, it increases about $271, or exactly $271 per month for that 6%. And if the proposed or projected 2% annual rate revenue adjustments are implemented each year, that same typical user would see what their bill would be monthly out in 23 and all the way out through 2030 if this plan was implemented and adopted as projected. It translates to about $1 a month per customer in terms of those increases in 23 and beyond. For the other half of the residential customers, this isn't charted, but it's a little bit lower, but a similar type of increase. So the other 50%, their minimum charge would go up about $2.50 a month in that first step, and it's like 85 cents, getting up to be about $1 in the final year in terms of that increase in the monthly bill, with those 2% being layered on over time. The question that we're often asked when we provide these types of recommendations or complete these types of studies is, well, how does the town compare? And to help illustrate this, we compared, and this is a similar group of communities we looked at in the 2019 study, but we stacked up, and in this case, this is just the wastewater portion of the bill. And it doesn't include other utilities. Some of these provide water as well, or stormwater. This is just the sewer portion of it. And as we can see, the current monthly bill for the same typical residential customer in the green bar for Mead is a bit above the average for the survey group. and under the proposed, we'll kind of take a further step and be a little bit more above, all but the town of Berthoud. And, you know, these are difficult comparisons, the size of the utility, other funding sources, where they are in terms of, you know, capacity curve of major infrastructure, what the kind of deferred replacements may be, and some future requirements, as well as action, you know, these boards, these councils may be taking or, you know, planning to take in 2022. I will note that most of these didn't change from the 19 studies. The last couple of years, most of these communities, you know, whatever reason may have been, chose not to adjust wastewater rates in this sort of intervening period. And, you know, they're all faced with similar drivers of growth, inflation, as well as capital replacement and potential changes to the regulatory environment, again, influencing both capital as well as operating expenses. So I anticipate, you know, others to continue to adjust or increase the rates, and this gap may not be quite so large as it is within this presentation or this slide today. So I've got a few separate slides on the plant investment fees, and barring any, you know, questions or comments, I'm going to kind of go through those and wrap things up in a handful of slides from here. Plant investment fees is maybe glossed over a little bit. These are one-time fees assessed to new or increased development. The town has them today, and we're proposing adjustments or increases to those plant investment fees as an outcome of the update that we've completed. Just a little bit of a background in terms of how we calculate these fees themselves before we see some of the information of the numbers. There's a dollar amount, or the net asset value, comprised of a handful of things. And in this case, we've got facilities that are in place, and what is the replacement cost of those facilities. And that's been increasing as we've made investments, as well as just bringing things to today's dollars, and, you know, what the sort of inflationary environment has been for these types of facilities. There's also that forward-looking approach, and this came out of the master plan, and it's largely the growth-related wastewater treatment facility improvements that have been identified. Just going back to the 19 study, while we looked out, there really weren't that substantial or material amount of growth-related improvements. So as that expansion of the treatment facilities come within the 10-year period, that, as well as the capacity that results from that expansion, are part of this update calculation. We make a couple of adjustments. One of them is to reduce for, while we've got these small main diameter pipelines in place, those are often dedicated by new development when they're constructing a development. So we adjust and we reduce for those because, you know, effectively the development community is going to be constructing and dedicating those improvements, and we don't want to charge for that within this fee, if you will. And then there's an adjustment or an increase for the current value of future growth-related interest. And in this case, this is tied to the existing debt issues that the town has on the books, and as it was in the 2019 study, a component of RP calculation. The denominator is the capacity that we have to serve EQRs, or equivalent residential units. And part of that, it's not just, you know, if we were limiting ourselves to the existing facilities, we would limit ourselves to the existing capacity. As we've got an expansion within the 10-year period, and part of our one of the cost components that we're covering in this fee, we also incorporate that expansion as well. And so that the current treatment facility has about 500,000 gallons a day in capacity, total capacity. And the expansion is to add 0.25 MTD. Essentially, you know, enables the town to serve roughly 1,200 more equivalent residential connections. So in terms of more of the numeric approach to what I just kind of tried to describe more on a theoretical basis, I'm going to start with the full service column. And this is, you know, the existing fee that's in place today. That we updated overall the net system with the adjustments and the cost exclusions. as well as that, set of future improvements, all in today's dollars, a little over 22.4 million. Once expanded, the plant is estimated to have capacity to serve roughly 3,500 equivalent residential users, and that translates to a fee of roughly $6,340 per equivalent residential user for base meter size connection. The current fee coming out of the previous study and index for inflation is a little more than $5,500, again, per EQR. And so if implemented, this change translates to an increase of roughly $800 for each new connection, or each base connection, or an increase of roughly 15% over the current fee in place. Now, associated with serving some of the customers outside of the existing sewer boundaries, because they had built and are going to own and maintain facilities connecting to the town system, we looked at, and it's the same system, the same values, but it's just restricted largely to the wastewater treatment plant's land that is part at the treatment plant. So the net system value is a little bit lower because this is just trying to pick up essentially the treatment and disposal component of the facilities these developments are tying into. With the same capacity to treat EQRs, it's just a little bit of a lower fee. In this case, $4,500 on a kind of a EQR basis. But the assessment is recommended to be per gallon per day. As these lots develop and they're connecting to the system, that's a little bit more of a better way to recover the cost rather than by meter size. So that $4,500 translates to a little more than $21 per gallon, again, for the one-time fees to be assessed. This schedule just shows, as I mentioned, by meter size, starting with the kind of the base meter size is 5/8 inch connection, or 5/8 by 3/4 inch connection. $809, that 14.6%. Whereas we increase by meter size, if someone's got a larger size connection, all the meter sizes are being increased, or the fees by meter size are being increased by this 14.6%. And we can see what that translates to in terms of a dollar nominal amount. Similar to on the rate side, looking at the same similar and comparable communities to address that same question. How do the sewer plant investment fees compare with these same communities and the similar fees assessed by these communities? Little different, certainly average, bigger range, if you will, bigger dollar amount. But the current fee is a little bit higher than the average of these communities, includes the town, and certainly under the proposed, that gap would widen from the average, if you will. Similar to on the rate side, there are a lot of things behind the scenes that evolve into these numbers. And also similar to adjustments since 2019, there really weren't many within these communities. So, the average isn't too much different than it was a couple years ago. And certainly as the town is integrating and having to expand the treatment facility and incorporating those costs into, in this case, the one-time plant investment fee, that's increasing more than inflation and more than what we would if we simply index the fee. So, with that said, that was the last prepared slide I had as part of this update. Certainly, happy to take any questions or go back if I went through something too quickly.
All right, thank you for your time tonight and incorporating the slide presentation into our packet so that we could take a look at it ahead of time. So it's important that we understand what's in the consent agenda and what we're up against on having our own system. So with that, is there any questions or comments from the trustees? David, do you have any questions or comments?
Not this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, thank you, Andrew, for your time tonight. I appreciate the presentation and your continued work with the town of Mead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. All right, move on to our proclamation tonight. It is for American Heart Month, February 2022, and Trustee Cartwright, will you please read the proclamation tonight? Thank you.
Proclamation for American Heart Month, the month of February. Whereas heart disease continues to be a leading cause of death in the United States, affecting Americans of all genders, races, and ethnicities, heart disease is among the most preventable diseases despite being so prevalent. During American Heart Month, we recommit to fighting this disease by promoting better health, wellness, and prevention awareness in the community. Whereas heart disease can impact any person, risk factors such as high cholesterol, high blood pressure, physical inactivity, obesity, tobacco use, and alcohol abuse can increase the risk of developing this deadly disease. By adopting healthier habits, we can all reduce our risk. Now, therefore, Colleen Whitlow, as Mayor of the Town of Mead, does hereby proclaim the month of February 2022 as American Heart Month and encourages all residents to commit to a healthy lifestyle. Given under her hand and seal of the Town of Mead, Colorado, this 31st day of January, 2022.
Thank you. Someone's making dinner. We're all hungry. Anyway, thank you very much. Is there any discussion tonight, and is there a motion to authorize the signing of the proclamation?
I'll make the motion to sign the proclamation for American Heart Month, the month of February.
Second.
I'll ask Mary for a roll call.
Thank you. Trustee Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams. He should be able to unmute himself. Mayor Pro Tem Adams, can you unmute? There you go.
I can't hear a thing.
Oh. David, can you hear us now?
I can hear you now.
All right. Go ahead, Mary.
All right, in case you didn't hear it, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, I am taking the roll call vote on the American Heart Month, February 2022 proclamations. How do you vote, Mayor Pro Tem Adams?
Approved.
Thank you. And for the record, Trustee Babcock arrived at 6:12 p.m., so Trustee Babcock?
Approved.
Trustee Cartwright?
Yes.
Trustee Broadband?
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for reading that, Trustee Cartwright. Next will be our first public comment of the evening. The board welcomes public comment for any item, whether it is on the agenda or not. The board will listen to your comments and take them into consideration. If you desire a conversation, please email the board or the town manager or attend the monthly coffee with the mayor. If you wish to comment on the public hearing item tonight, we will take your comments during that portion of the meeting. If you are with us virtually, please indicate by raising your hand to speak. When you're recognized, please state your name and address for the board. Again, if you'd like to speak during the public comment period, please adhere to the town's public comment period. Please adhere to the town's general guidance. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the board of trustees, and if you are representing a group, you will have 5 minutes. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to speak at this public comment period? Is there anybody with us virtually that would like to speak at this first public comment period? Please raise your hand. Nobody. Thank you. Thank you. We'll move on to our consent agenda of the evening. The consent agenda contains items which are considered routine and enacted in one motion and vote. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I will motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Roll call please, Mary.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Broadhead?
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams?
Yes.
everyone who is here with us on this portion of the agenda, on the consent agenda items. So thank you very much for everyone that's here in the room and with us virtually, and we'll move on to our public hearing of the evening. And this will be on the Tyrian Metropolitan District. The public hearing is continued from January 10th, 2022. This public hearing on the Tyrian Metropolitan District Service Plan and IGA is being continued from January 10th, 2022. First, we will hear from staff, followed by the applicant, and then the public will be given the opportunity to comment. I will reopen the public hearing now, and the time is 6:40, and I will turn the microphone over to our town attorney, Marcus Miskinson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, trustees, good evening. As the mayor just stated, this resolution before you tonight, Resolution 10R 2022, approves with conditions the service plan for the second amended and restated service plan for the Tyrion Metropolitan District numbers 1 through 6 and district numbers 7 through 21. The resolution also approves the form of the intergovernmental agreement between the town of Mead and districts 1 through 21, and also authorizes the mayor to execute the IGA on behalf of the town when that IGA is in the final form. These metropolitan districts, as you heard at your last regular meeting on January 10th, are intended to serve the development known as Tyrion, which is located generally east of I-25, south of Weld County Road 44, and north of Weld County Road 38. This development will, at build-out, consist of residential, commercial, and mixed-use development. The developer is Front Range Investment Holdings LLC, and they are the proponent of this proposed service plan, together with the existing districts, which are districts numbers 1 through 6. A vicinity map of the development is included on page 2 of the agenda item summary in your packet. I would also note that at the conclusion of the continued public hearing at the last meeting, the board did indicate a desire to wait until the town of Berthoud had taken action on the service plan. I attended the January 25th meeting of the Board of Trustees of Berthoud, as did the mayor, I believe, was there virtually, and our town manager, Kelly Mickelbrink, was in attendance as well. Following discussion and questions from the Berthoud the town board of Trustees, they did make a motion to continue action on the service plan until their next regular meeting, which is February 8th. They also tabled consideration of the IGA until the February 8th meeting. That being said, we are recommending that the board continue to consider the amended service plan this evening. At the conclusion of the last continued public hearing, there was a desire to have a couple of items presented to the board. One was a comparison chart that would show what the major differences are proposed in this service plan to the town's model service plan. That has been included as an attachment to the agenda item summary, and that was prepared by counsel for the districts. We have also included a legislative red line of the amended service plan, which is an attachment, and the final proposed version of the amended service plan as well. I would point out that the only substantive differences to the service plan that is in your packet, there's a change to the maximum debt ability imposition term that appears on both the text of the service plan as well as the corresponding section in the intergovernmental agreement. And what that allows is for the imposition term to be increased from 30 years to 40 years. However, there has been language added that does clarify that the term of the bonds that are issued cannot exceed 30 years from the initial year in which those bonds are issued. And at this point, I'm sure that you all have questions, but I'd like to invite Deborah Early, who's the counsel representing the districts, to maybe make a brief presentation tonight. And with her, I believe she has Mr. Bobette, who's with Front Range Investment Holdings LLC, and I'm assuming that we also have some folks from D.A. Davidson
Yes.
perhaps in attendance as well. But Deborah, I'll turn it over to you, and if you, I don't know if you have a prepared presentation tonight, but you know, I'm sure that, you know, Mayor or Trustees, if you have questions for me, I'm happy to ask them, or we'll have questions answered by Ms. Early as well.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Deborah Early with Snuggle Seaver Pogue, address 4725 South Monica Street, Denver, Colorado. We're located in the Tech Center, General Counsel to the Torreon Metropolitan Districts, and also working with the developer Front Range Investment Holdings and providing the service plan that you have before you today. Again, I brought with me Bob Eck. He's also president of the districts, as well as working with the developer in getting this project underway. From D.A. Davidson, I have Brooke Hutchins and Sam Watson again. And from Pinnacle Consulting Group, which is the district management and accounting group, I had Chad Walker and Peggy Dow as well. As Marcus explained, we went to Berthoud last week for their hearing. Their trustees asked a lot of questions. They had quite a few questions, but the end result was they wanted, it seems they want a little bit more feedback from their attorneys. So they had decided to continue their hearing until next Tuesday. At this point in time, we would be happy to have the board adopt a resolution approving the service plan as it's been provided to you. We have no other information new to provide other than what Marcus had gone through and what we had made changes to, but we're more than happy to continue to answer any questions you may have tonight.
Okay. I just want to say thank you for coming tonight. And no, but I really think that it's important that we understand all the work that you guys did with staff, and I understand what happened at the Berthoud meeting, because I was there. And Marcus, thank you for taking the time to do that, and all the things that the board asked between the last meeting and this meeting. So it's really important that we understand what we're going to approve or not approve tonight, but I just wanted to say thank you very much. And this development takes a lot of check marks for our comp plan. It has a lot to do with our diverse residential, has a lot with the commercial, retail, all the amenities, the rec center, the parks, the infrastructure that's going to be laid down by scratch, and a potential on and off ramp, and you know, all this stuff that is coming on the side of Mead. Berthoud has an incredible amount of energy that is coming from this project. So I just wanted to say thank you very much, and it checks a lot of stuff in the comp plan and what we've been trying to move forward for the last couple of years. So thank you very much. And I'm going to open it up to the questions or comments from the trustees tonight. Okay. David, do you have any questions or comments?
Not at this time.
Okay. I guess I would ask, since you guys were there, was there anything that the Berthoud trustees asked that maybe we should know, that we might not have thought to ask when they were before us, or I don't know, was there anything that you thought that came out of that meeting that was pertinent for us to hear, I guess?
Well, I'll just offer one insight that I think you should hear.
Okay.
They were somewhat not understanding why they hadn't passed a model service plan, nor did they have the 3 mills that came back to the town to help with maintenance. So a couple of their board members were like, well, why don't we have that? And it was because they hadn't passed that. And so I thought that was an interesting total shout out to the town of Mead and to these trustees for being so forward thinking to be in that situation. So that was one of the things that they brought up a couple times about the 3 mills and the model service plan.
Okay, but nothing related necessarily to this that was of interest to you, Marcus, at all?
I would just add that there were some questions toward the end of the presentation regarding, you know, there were some articles in the Denver Post some time ago about some of the of uses, in some of the metropolitan districts. And I thought that Deborah did a nice job of explaining how this service plan has some, restrictions in place on the, on developer debt and the discharge of developer debt. So I don't know if you wanna take just a minute
Yeah,
and
the
address
developer
those.
debt issue, and right now in the current service plan, there's nothing that addresses developer debt or carves it out. And the developer debt issue came up again, their special counsel, their attorney, that's providing some input for them, has issues with developer debt in general. I believe Kyle Thomas from DA Davison, who was there last week, did a really good job in trying to explain why that may be needed down the road. But what we've done in the service plan to help, set off some of Berthoud's concern about the issuance of developer debt, and what that is some point in the future, if the market isn't ready for bond issuance, but we need to, still provide income or obtain money to help fund the public improvements. Developer debt is is an option that allows, the district to issue debt to the developer, but there's parameters put on that are tighter than what are in here for issuing regular bonds. Probably one of the biggest provisions is after 25 years, if it's not paid off, it goes away. It will be subordinate to any other debt that's issued, so all the other debt gets paid first, and if there's not enough money left over to pay it, then it doesn't get paid. We have parameters on the, interest rate that's allowed to be issued. And then we're also, it's also required, and this is a requirement in Mead's service plan already in the model, that, an external financial advisor issue an opinion that the interest rate's reasonable and the structure and maturity is reasonable, to be worked out in the long term. So we do believe there are reasonable parameters there, to fend off some of the negative press that, debt that's been issued to developers or other districts over the past couple of years, have been taken care of.
I'm gonna open it up to the public, so. There are members of the public who are interested in commenting tonight. Please indicate by raising your hand if you are with us virtually. When you're recognized, please state your name and address for the board. Again, if you wish to speak during the public public hearing period, please adhere to the town's general guidelines. You will have 3 minutes to address the board, and if you're representing a group, you will have 5 minutes. Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak during this public hearing? Is there anybody with us virtually that would like to speak, or ask questions tonight? Please raise your hand. I see a few folks on the Zoom call tonight. You may have questions or comments. So the floor is yours. If you just raise your hand, we'll call on you.
I'm not seeing anybody.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your team tonight, and
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time. Okay. We'll move on to resolution number 10-R-2022. Is there a motion regarding this presented resolution?
What are we all thinking? Do we wanna wait longer for Berthoud to take a look at this, or are we ready to move forward without knowing what they want? It does scare me a little that they wanted, not scare me a little, but makes me a little concerned that they wanted more input from their lawyers. Not like super concerned, but makes me think.
Well, there was definitely some comments, I, watched it, and there was comments about the burden that the metro districts put on the citizens, so kind of the stance I've taken of, I just don't know if this is something that is the best for our citizens. And as much as the development is, and it's a wonderful development, and I realize that it goes hand in hand, that was, I think, part of what some of the questions were, but they also didn't have any reference, like Helen was saying, to a model service plan. So they didn't have, okay, this is kind of what we feel comfortable with a town like we do, except that the scale of this is, you know, like we talked about last time, bigger. So, what were your comments?
I
think we should, continue the public hearing until we hear back on what happens at Berthoud for their next meeting.
I think, didn't we make a comment last time about having either the service plan or the ordinance changed to allow a 40-year period?
Mm-hmm.
And if that's not in place, could we even vote on this?
Well, one of the items on the consent agenda tonight was an ordinance making that change. So we, the language that was added to, section 12.220 of the municipal code, in subsection 9, states that the 30-year limitation, set forth in that subsection 9 may be extended to a maximum of 40 years, for a service plan which proposes to provide extraordinary public benefits to the town, including but not limited to the construction of critical off-site regional public improvements, the construction of extraordinary recreational or open space improvements, or the construction of public infrastructure that can strengthen employment opportunities within the town boundaries, or support the expansion of the town's retail tax base. There was also a new subsection 10 added that says that a limitation, the service plan has to include a limitation that the district shall not issue bonds that have a maturity date of more than 30 years from the year in which the bonds are issued, exclusive of refundings. And that's the language that has been added to the service plan that's before you for consideration tonight. And Trustee Harris, I understand the desire to potentially want to wait to see what Berthoud does, but I would point out that there was a new condition, or a new condition added to section 3 of the resolution that was not in the resolution that was in your packet on January 10th, and that condition is that the districts and the proponents, and that again, there's 6 existing districts now that were formed earlier, back in the early 2000s. So those districts and the proponents, meaning Front Range Investment Holdings LLC, shall not proceed to file either the service plan or the petition for organization for district numbers 7 through 21 with the Weld County District Court until such time as the town of Berthoud has approved or conditionally approved the service plan substantially in the form attached to this resolution. So if Berthoud were to not take action to approve the service plan, they would not be able to file the petition for organization for the new districts or this amended service plan, right? And if there are some minor wording changes that that in consultation with the town manager and with the mayor, I think are non-substantive, that would be able to be moved forward. But if there's any major changes that Berthoud wants that changes this proposed service plan, that would come back before you, right? They would not be able to file those documents with the Weld County District Court unless and until this comes back before the full board. So I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware of that.
I think staff has done a wonderful job working with the team here with us, that they've done everything that the board has asked of them to do in the last 2 weeks. And so with that and watching all of this going, moving forward, I think it's time to be the leader in this, and I think it's time to move forward. And I'm okay with moving forward with this resolution tonight, based on everything that staff has worked on and to our wishes with our comments and questions the last time that we were together. So that's
what I would just throw out a resolution about us at least having an idea of where we're all what we're all thinking. But
I believe that staff has worked really hard.
I like that you've added that. I think that's kind of a great little caveat, I guess, for us to, if something changes, we can come back to it and see what changes we may or may not need to make. So that's good.
And I just want to point out that reading that, it gives somebody who is listening to this later a better knowledge of what it is that we approved in the consent agenda, so that we can make this motion, this resolution. Thank you.
Is there a motion regarding this, again, is there a motion regarding this presented resolution?
I will move to approve resolution number 10-R-2022, a resolution of the town of Mead, Colorado, approving with conditions the second amended and restated service plan for the Turion Metropolitan District numbers 1 through 6 and Turion Metropolitan District numbers 7 through 21, and authorizing execution of the intergovernmental agreement between the town and the Turion Metropolitan Districts.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? David, do you have any, questions or comments or anything before we move to ask you to vote?
No, I do not.
Thank you very much. Is there any other final discussion here? Roll call, please, Mary.
Trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Trustee Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
No.
Trustee Broadhead,
No.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you. The motion carries. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll talk soon.
Yep.
All right. I will now close the public hearing. The time now is 7 p.m. Again, thank you very much everyone that was here with us in the room and virtually during this public hearing. Appreciate your time. All right, we'll move on to new business, appointment of our vacant trustee position. This will be introduced by our town clerk treasurer, Mary Strutt.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. You have in your packet an agenda item summary which describes again the vacancy of the office of trustee. The board has, according to Colorado Revised Statute, has 60 days to appoint someone to the position or to order an election. So the time has come to make that decision. You have 3 applicants for the position. Their applications are in the packet. Applicant Regina Casey, Herman Schrantz, and Joe Wigington. Mr. Schrantz and Mr. Wigington were at the board meeting on January 10th to be interviewed, and Ms. Casey was interviewed virtually, and that video was sent to all of you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to say thank you to all three citizens that took the time to put their application in and went through the interview process. I think it's very important that we have, as it's great and it's hard to make a decision on who that was or wasn't. So I just want to say thank you to all 3 of those individuals and to our citizens who, you know, will likely have another time to elect a person in that seat in November. So I just wanted to say that too. Is there a motion to appoint a citizen to the Board of Trustees this evening?
I move to approve Herman Schrantz as the newly appointed board member to, to fill the current vacancy in the office of trustee until the November 2022 regular municipal election.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Want to say anything?
Second.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'd
Go
like to say
ahead.
something
Sure.
real quick. I wanna completely echo what you said, but I'm glad that people usually have to go through the public election process, because it was really tough. We had 3 wonderful citizens step up, and I think we'd be lucky to have any one of them on the board. And it is such a odd little chunk, you know, 9 months, and we all know how fast and furious this comes to you, and the learning curve is quite steep. But I would really hope that everybody who stepped up will step back up in November and put their name on the ballot, and maybe some others as well, but just really appreciative that they stepped forward to go through that whole process for us.
Yeah, we were worried we weren't gonna have any choices.
And we did have 3 good ones.
Yeah, it's great. All right, thank you very much for your time, and again, thank you for the 3 candidates. Roll call, please, Mary, on the motion.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams,
Yes.
Trustee Broadhead,
Yes.
Trustee Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much. Congratulations to Mr. Schrantz We look forward to working with you until November, and we will continue to move things forward, and we'll have to put a chair where that person sits. Have to find a chair for that person.
And he'll be sworn in at your next regular meeting on February 14th, Valentine's Day.
Yes. All right, thank you, and thank you staff for helping us get through the process of doing this, because it's kind of nerve-wracking without knowing how to finalize that. So thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to our executive summary for our our broadband extend.
Jurisdiction.
Yeah,
out there.
yeah, our town manager.
You're really tongue-tied
I know,
tonight.
I know.
It happens.
Must be not enough water. You have the floor, please.
Thank you very much. You have before you the executive summary of the broadband initiative that the town has been working on for the last 6 months with Berthoud, Milliken, and Johnstown. As you know, I have been meeting with the group, and then in October, you all came and saw a presentation from our consultant. And from that day, we set about interviewing the 3 highest rated broadband providers. One was Highline, the other was Pulse, Loveland Pulse, and then the third was Allo. And we interviewed all of them. They all had pluses and minuses, but far and away, Allo is the most highly capitalized. They also have a track record, and it was unanimous decision to move forward with Allo. One of the key items that we decided on as a group was that there'd be no capital investment by the towns, that the provider had to basically put about $40 million worth of assets into the ground or in the air, depending on where it is. And Allo has agreed to that. So what I'm asking for you tonight is to pass this motion that allows the town attorney and your town manager to work amongst the 3 towns and us and Allo to come up with an agreement to bring back to you all that would be ratified by the 4 councils. Now, just to bring you where we are today, Milliken already passed this resolution about 2 weeks ago. Johnstown attempted to, but their meeting was snowed out last week. So Johnstown is going next Tuesday, and Berthoud is going next Wednesday. So what I would hope would come out of this is that you would authorize us to move forward, and the devil's in the details. So even though we were all wanting to pop the champagne cork and say by this summer we'd have gig service to every house, that's a little ambitious. And we have retained counsel with Ken Fellman, and many of you may remember him back when we negotiated, when TDS bought the franchise of K2 Communications. He's the guru in the state on broadband issues. And so we actually had a conference call with him last week, so we're gonna bring him in to make sure whatever we bring back to you that we recommend, he's really scrubbed it, because he really seems to understand the ins and outs of this. So even though I just say, let's continue to take baby steps, but yet this is a huge step forward and that we've identified Allo. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Questions or comments for Helen? Okay, all right.
Okay. All right, this is gonna be a really, I'm like, not a tech person, so this is probably gonna be a really dumb question. So TDS, right, that's our provider, I mean, they put a lot of money putting crap in the ground around here, right? So this is gonna be all new stuff, they have to lay from, so I'm trying to think. So if a household wants it, that means they gotta tear up their front yard to get this run to their house? I'm just trying to understand, like, how, when you're talking about laying 40 million in capital improvements and you're talking about, because I know for our neighborhood to get TDS, that's exactly what would have to happen. We have the lines in the neighborhood, but not a single line goes to a house. If you want it to your house, you gotta rip up your front yard to run that sucker through it. So I'm just trying to, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out, how do they literally get this to every house?
Okay, so So I can speak to this because I'm having it run at my house in Fort Collins. We have a municipal broadband that's languished for 3 years, but they finally got into my neighborhood. So essentially, you do have to take it from the street to the house. The typical way they do it though is bore it 2 feet below the ground. So that's how I'm getting it. So they go down, so
It's
they're
kinda like
below.
when you pull a sprinkler pipe and how they can have that one thing that grabs the pipe and then just pulls it, and all they leave is this little thing along the ground where they've dragged it. Is it like that kind of thing, or are you talking like, do they have to actually excavate 2 feet down a trench?
It's not trenched, it's bored, it's like if you're looking at the ground like this, then they bore through it horizontally and then they get close to your house.
Goes down.
Yeah.
And then curve, it's amazing how they do
I think
it.
it's like when you pull a sprinkler line, that's exactly how
It
you pull
is.
a sprinkler line.
It's very similar.
A funny pipe.
But sprinklers are higher up, and so they
Well,
have,
I know,
they
so
get
it's-
below that.
Okay.
But that's how they're doing it there. It depends on the challenges that any particular property, you know, has with it, but it's exactly the same thing that TDS would do.
So then my question to you is like, for TDS to come into our neighborhood, I mean, I don't even know if we would have to pay them or what we would have to do to get them to come in, pay them to come and run that line to our house. You're saying these people are going to do all of that with their 40 million investment. It will be run to every household that wants it?
That
or
wants
will
it.
be- Okay,
So
and you're
they're-
not gonna have to pay extra to have it run to your house?
No, you'll pay a monthly charge for the service.
I mean, yeah, I would, yes, that,
Yeah,
I understand
But you
that,
aren't
but
paying, you don't pay for the connection. That they pay, you know, they have all this vernacular, like you
Right.
said, I'm learning it all because I'm
Mhm.
learning it on the fly. But, they, at their cost, put this fiber in the ground, and they're betting on the come that they're gonna get, they think their take rate will probably be at least 50%, and based on a lot of the comments from, that we saw in the survey indicates there's a real interest in having gig service here.
Mhm.
So they saw the results of it, they know their market, so they're taking that risk, if you will.
Mhm.
But their commitment is to hook everybody who wants to up. So even the most distant homes will have the opportunity to connect to broadband.
And then new neighborhoods, they're gonna, will they be like, with the brand new utilities going in, it'll be automatic that they get in there too?
Well,
Or is it,
We
how does
have,
that work?
you know, we have a franchise with TDS. They have the opportunity, and this is back to devil meat details. It could be that TDS may come to us and say, hey, we wanna do this too. And they too may wanna put, you know, fiber in the ground. It's probably unlikely that they would make that kind of commitment, but it's possible. So we aren't telling any broadband provider, oh no, the only company we'll deal with is Allo. What we're doing is entering a new agreement that'll establish parameters of how they will accomplish it. And one of the reasons is that we will help expedite their road cut permits. So if you've seen this go in anywhere, they come along and they have to do lane drops. They're mostly dealing in rights of way, but sometimes, yeah, they have to bore underneath the front yard, you know, running just the service that's gonna go laterally into the house. But that's the idea here. As I said, as we work through the MOU, I can tell you all the answers to this very explicitly. But this is not excluding anybody. This is simply including them.
okay. So is the line that they're, you might not know the answer to this, but TDS laid fiber optic, is the line that they're laying like bigger? What gives them 1 gig over what TDS offers? Is it the size of the fiber optic line? No, what is it then?
It's the, so at each end of the line is a modem. And the modem speed is what, the fiber doesn't care what goes through it. So as long as it's a clean line fiber, which will take it from the modem to a junction box, and that junction box to your house, as long as it's a clean line, you can get gigabit, actually you can get 100 gigabits if you wanted to, they just haven't developed that yet.
Oh, so it's all in the modems.
Right, and so the thing right now is TDS can bring gigabit speed to your house. In fact, we have fiber in the box outside of our house, but then they have to drop the fiber line that takes it into the house, and from there it goes to copper. they would have to take fiber all the way into the house to get the gigabit speed. So that's the thing, right now it connects to copper, that's that thing that you screw into the back.
Right.
If you have it, so if it connects to copper, it drops the speeds down, because the copper just can't handle the speed.
Oh, well then how does an older house,
They run the fiber in through the same line that they run the copper in usually. Like if you have satellite dish,
yeah,
that, you know, or something like that, that little connector that they
yeah,
have,
yeah, so.
that connector would be fiber, and so it's just this pops right in, because it's just a light. Comes the sound effects.
Okay. Alright,
So-
so I'm just looking at this map and it shows, you know, the little red lines in every single neighborhood going all around, so I was just trying to make sure that I understood what we're looking at here and how that works.
The other thing is most of the newer neighborhoods already have the line that runs to your house and comes up right outside. It's usually just a gray pipe, and they can just string you right through that pipe from the outside of your property to the inside of your property, right through that pipe. And most, well, everything Western Meadows, for example, has that because they built it with it.
Right.
They just have their crazy stuff in the houses, but they did build the line at least, it's the tube to put it into your house is there.
We're 20 years behind. Our neighborhood apparently really is, we're
No,
bad.
Your houses are 20 years more mature.
There we go. They're aging gracefully. I think that's my questions, yeah?
So just to clarify, our franchise agreement with TDS is for cable. It is not for broadband. It is not for internet. It is for cable, correct? Because I think there's a lot of confusion, I was trying to think of the right word, confusion is a good one, out there, that TDS, because TDS does provide and ran all that, they have the cable TV, like, that, you know, I don't cable, but some people do. They have the cable franchise. So right now, you can get whomever you can get in your neighborhood, and we can get, you know, and that's the thing, like, a lot of us can only get TDS, or some people, like, in Liberty Ranch can only get, and I could be wrong on this, but like Comcast, and they can't get TDS, but we can't get Comcast in Coyote Red. So what this is, and I'm so happy that you took the ball and ran, and the towns that we're doing this with, collaborating, we are providing such a huge service to our townspeople, because, I mean, we've had, how many people come and they're like, internet, it's terrible. And especially this day and age, it isn't up to par. So this gives an opportunity, Allo wants to come in and wants to do this, and we're partnering so that we really can afford it with these other jurisdictions, but also the part of doing it ourselves and bringing Allo in is so that others might go, oh, we should get in there. And so Comcast will come and go, oh yeah, we're gonna do that too, so we wanna provide. And so then you get the competition, because right now we're just so hit and miss, even though you're like, well, Longmont has this, and Loveland has that. So it's really, there's just so much confusion, and I get it, because I'm slowly learning, but I just kind of jumped on this, and when we put it on the ballot to get out of the broadband with the state so that we could do this, you realize how much misinformation there is, but TDS only has a cable TV franchise in town. So it would be you calling TDS and saying, I want you to come to my house, and they would probably want you as a customer, so they'll come to your house. So just like Al, they're gonna put everything down, hoping that at least 50% want it, and nobody else is providing it right now, so just to clear that up. And I just wanna say thank you to you and staff for just running with this, because I just sit here and I'm like, this is already happening, it's happening really fast. I know it doesn't probably feel like it for most of the citizens, but it's a big undertaking, so I wanna make sure that people realize how big of an undertaking this is, but how much that the town thought it was important that the citizens get the opportunity to have broadband, but also that maybe others will start coming in, so we have some competition and help drive down costs in the
I
life.
think it's great that we're collaborating.
Yes.
I think our
Agreed.
collaborative effort has been fantastic. When we couldn't get on our own, we can get with
Yeah.
all of us,
Well,
working together, which is great.
I'd like to kind of touch on both. First of all, that franchise comment. And that's something that I didn't really know until Marcus, set up this call with Ken Feldman. So those franchises, when it comes to telecommunications, are really only on cable TV. So we have a franchise agreement on that, but we wouldn't enter into a franchise agreement with Elo save for the cable TV component. But remember, all our franchise agreements are non-exclusive in the town. So what you do is you come up with these rules that they follow, and then you get a certain percentage that we derive income from it. But we don't exclude anybody else from coming in. So we have, Black Hills Energy, for example, and we have this TDS, but this interregional cooperation is so big, especially when you look at places like Milliken and Johnstown that are often, they've been fighting like the big and little brother for their history. And Berthoud, frankly, that Turion project that we talked about today, that property was the Wilson Ranch, and it was supposed to be in Johnstown. So that was a real tug of war. So by doing this, it shows how well we can get along, but it also, it neutralizes the idea of broadband so that we don't have to fight with each other to get somebody. We all, particularly for businesses, imagine businesses that need 10 gig service. Like I imagine the FedEx and the new FedEx and the Home Depot are all gonna need really high level internet. By our doing this, it'll be fantastic. But this is when the work begins, to make sure we get a good agreement, because we don't wanna go in with our eyes shut and then have something that we didn't anticipate and we don't wanna oversell it and then not have it. But I'm only saying that just to be, so we're cautious, but we should be excited at the same time.
I just wanna make a comment too, is I was on some other calls with Dr. Cog and CML in the last couple months, and nobody had ever heard collaboration, any broadband or anything.
Yeah.
It was amazing how many people were writing this down. So thank you very much for all of this work that we've been doing, and I just, it hears far, all these people are thinking about Mead and Berthoud and what we're doing together, so thank you very much. So with that, is there a approval on the floor?
And now I gotta go back and find it, I was looking at the things.
To authorize the town manager to develop an MOU with Allo Communications for broadband development in the town of Mead to be considered at a future town board meeting.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Mary, roll call please.
Trustee Broadhead,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams,
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries, and thanks for your work on this. Moving forward. Next is our Mead Area Chamber of Commerce 2022 agreements, introduced by our town clerk, treasurer Mary Strutt.
All right, thank you, Mayor, trustees. So you have in your packet a 2022 agreement with the Mead Area Chamber of Commerce. We've done similar agreements with the Mead Area Chamber for the last several years. The Mead Area Chamber has been a great partner of the town of Mead's, doing the business directory, which gets mailed to all residents, and partnering in several events. If it's all right with all you, I do believe that Jay Stipe is on the line, and he's the president of the Mead Chamber and would like to address you.
Hi, Jay.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me, Mayor Whitlow and trustees. We appreciate the opportunity to chat with you again. We're excited about the upcoming season of events and activities for the town. We're hoping that we're less restricted again this year than we were last year, so the number of attendees and the number of events can grow. to where it was, maybe, a couple years ago. The request that we're making is the same as we've made over the last several years. There's nothing new in that. We'd like to highlight some of the events and activities that the Chamber does, and some things that you may or may not know that have changed in the last years. Obviously, one of the biggest things for us financially is the printing and mailing of the business directories. Of the money that you guys grant us, about $5,000 of that goes directly to printing and the distribution of those directories. So that's a big piece of what your support helps us accomplish. And initially, when we first started doing this, that was designed to be a directory that came out every 2 years. And just because of the growth in the town and the needs, we bumped that up to something that we're doing every season or every year. So we appreciate Mary's support in providing us with the new business licenses so we can reach out to those new businesses and get them engaged and involved in that directory and the activities that we do. This year, joint events with the town include Unity in the Community, a summer block party, movies in the park, concerts in the park, cornhole tournaments, a homecoming parade, community day / sugar beet, whatever it ends up being called, moving forward. And then Christmas activities, excuse me, the Christmas in the Park parade, tree drawings, whatever, and however that looks moving forward. Additionally, just some simple or straightforward chamber events. We actually have an annual meeting dinner. We do quarterly brown bag lunch and learn kind of workshops, trivia nights and bingo nights, senior recognition, which is the Mead Area Chamber of Commerce Scholarship Program. We have a golf tournament that we host every year. We historically attended the Mead School Roundup, the high school Roundup, Business Expo and Craft Fair that is kind of a joint event that we've done in the past. New last year was Trick or Treat Street. That was a huge success, and we were able to grow that again this year. And because of a change in the Rotary's membership, I guess is the right word, we took over Breakfast with Santa, which is always a huge event and success. So we partner with Mead Motorhead. We do joint business after hours and regional business after hours. And the whole purpose of all of that is to give the local businesses an opportunity and multiple opportunities to show off their wares, show off their business, meet other business men and women, and partner in whatever way that we can help them partner to expand and grow their business. And so the function and focus of all the events really is to bring attention to the town and bring attention to the local businesses. And that's what we're about. Be happy to answer any questions if you have them. Otherwise, we appreciate your consideration again this year.
All right, questions or comments for Jay? Okay, David, do you have any questions or comments for Jay?
No, I don't.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Jay, for being here with us tonight.
Well, thank you for allowing me to come.
Okay, is there a motion regarding the Chamber of Commerce agreement for 2022?
I move to approve the agreement between the Town of Mead and the Mead Area Chamber of Commerce for 2022 for an amount not to exceed $7,500.
motion carries, and we look forward to 2022 together. Thank you, Jay. Okay, next is our resolution number 15-R-2022, and this will be a resolution for approving a donation to the Community Foundation of Boulder County for recovery efforts from the Marshall Fire. And this will be introduced by our town clerk, treasurer, Mary Stroud.
Thank you, Mayor. At the board's request, the town attorney did write this resolution donating funds from the, budget, community grants to community organization part of the budget. We did look into different areas to donate in Boulder County to help with the Marshall Fire. This Community Foundation Boulder County seems like the one that is funneling all the efforts through. It's on the Boulder Emergency Management. They give this one out, as does, we contacted the treasurer of the town of Superior, or the director of finance, town of Superior. He gave us this one too. So, we have this resolution then for your consideration to assist the victims of the Marshall Road fire.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, staff, for helping us get this together on the board packet tonight. Okay, is there any questions or comments? Okay. Is there a motion regarding resolution number 15-R-2022?
I move to approve resolution number 15-R-2022, a resolution of the town of Mead, Colorado, approving a donation to the Community Foundation Boulder County to assist with ongoing recovery efforts stemming from the Marshall Fire.
Not second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Mary.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams.
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright.
Yes.
Trustee Harris.
Yes.
Trustee Broadhead.
Yes.
Trustee Babcock.
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you very much. Again, thank you, staff, for all your help with this. Appreciate it. Next, our second public comment for this evening. We follow the same guidelines as before. Would anybody in the room would like to speak? Is there anyone with us virtually that would like to speak to the Board of Trustees tonight?
One person left.
Doesn't look like it.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to elected official reports. Any town trustees would like to bring up anything?
I would. Okay, so, I had an idea, actually just yesterday. I was talking it over with my husband. So I heard once again on social media post that this town is really poor at communication, and I'm kidding me. Right? But anyways, so I had a thought as I was reading through the board packet. Your manager's report that you put together for our packet every 2-3 weeks, what if we took that and just posted that on social media, on our website, you don't have to make any because you're really kind of going through all the key things that are going on in town, right? Just take that as it is. I know you'll send us sometimes updates separately in emails and stuff, but that manager's report, can we take that and make a place for it that people can just go and see the manager's report every 2 weeks? They can go and see changes from week to week. They can, and I would like to say, you did not, in your key projects, there was nothing about the rec center or Mead Town Center, and I don't know if there's that many updates on Mead Town Center, but if we could add maybe the rec center to your key projects section, even if it's just to say, hey, we're working on architecture at this point, and then maybe, Mead Town Center is still current on all their permits, or just something, whatever, or leave it out entirely, I don't know. But I would love to see the rec center added to the key project section, and then just maybe have that as a really quick, succinct, here's everything that's going on in town right now. And it's updated every 2-3 weeks, right? So people can see, oh, okay, we're almost done with the 3rd Street project. All they have is a few little things that can't be done until spring. Or they'll see, we're working on the design of this. I know we're done with that, but so that they can kind of see where everything is in a very quick, one place location. What do you think of that? I don't know, what does anybody think of that?
Well, Well, that's a great idea. I would ask how we're not communicating and what people aren't hearing. Because in a month or so, they're gonna be communicated very well with the electronic sign that we're about to install. So you'll hear about that.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
But that is one of our primary communication tools to get information across. But
But it's not gonna have like a key update on where we're at on the rec center. It's not, I mean, yes, you're gonna have communication on there. Hey, we're registering for spring volleyball,
Yeah.
hey, you're gonna have that kind of stuff. But like, I mean, it'd be not, hey, Highland Lake, we're about done out there. All we have left to do is this. Or, I mean, we're not gonna be putting that on that kind of communication sign. And those are the kinds of things that people kind of frequently ask questions about. Like, where are we at on this? Where are we, why, how long is that gonna take on County Road 7 right there? How much longer are they gonna be doing it? And you had in there, hey, they're at this point on this project, we're looking at this time, so it'd be a way for people to just really quickly maybe see where everything is at as far as different things going on in the town in general. And you encompass kind of everything that people might want to know, I would think. I don't know.
I mean, I can talk to Lorelai. I mean, I don't see why we put it out in the board packet. We could simply put it out separately like we do the police plaza. But I would suggest that some people won't read it and will still say we're not communicating.
Oh, I know. I know. There's always gonna be people that say that we don't communicate. But like I said, as I was reading through the board packet, I'm just like, oh, this would be really great for people to just see. Just a really quick, hey, here's an update of everything going on. And if we could even like make it so that they're like dated, like in like, I don't know, on the website, if you could like have it be in this one little section of the website, and then, but like they can click, okay, this week, here's this one, and then maybe they're like, oh, well, where was that project at a month ago? They could actually click on the one that was a month earlier and see maybe where such and such was at in its, the postal development, or whatever it was, just so it's kind of all in one place, and it kind of, people can look back if they wanted to look back and check on the progress of things, but it'd be really easy for them to find it, like maybe post a link on social media to it, not necessarily post it directly on social media, I don't know, just something. I would love to see that manager's report just really easily accessible to people to look at as often as they would like to look at. People don't read the board packets, they don't. But I think your little synopsises that you do at the front of our packets are great. They're great little tidbits of info.
And we're happy to do that. I mean, as we move through a couple things, for example, the bean plant, we're kind of in a lull because we're finishing up the report from the Anderson Hollis, and then we're getting ready the RFP. But we're happy to do that. What I was kind of hoping for was to get that final report so we can put that on our website and let people know. We're happy to do it. I think one of the things that people are really going to be interested in is the broadband rollout. And once that gets going, when's it coming to my neighborhood? When's it coming to my neighborhood? That will probably have a whole separate effort that we're gonna do, where people can look where their neighborhood is
on the project list. Yeah,
exactly.
that would be fantastic.
And like next time, just to tease out our next board meeting, Erica's gonna show you, on the website where, how you can see where the snow routes are and the priorities. And as we move along, we would love to be able to integrate our GIS system with this broadband effort, so you could just get on there and start looking, oh, I could see it coming, where they're laying the fiber and when they're gonna do it. So, yeah, we'll look at it. I mean, I think it's a great idea. We don't do, those reports aren't so formulaic though, that they're sequential, like 2 weeks ago this happened, like a flip book.
No, I don't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't mean necessarily like that. Like,
brutal.
I don't want you to like go in and make changes to it so that it's, presented differently or anything like that. I just think take that thing and just slap it out there with a link on social media for people to go see the manager's report every 2 weeks. Here's what's going on in the town. You can see all kinds of different things. I mean, the community engagement is great. Put on there, hey, we're looking at, and you know, once we get closer to the summer, you know, you're gonna put concerts in the park are coming soon, you know, just so people, oh yeah, that's right, let me go look up those dates, and they can add it to their calendar, you know. Cause you're often telling us things to be looking forward to in there, as well as things that are happening now, and you also highlight things that just happened. So you hit kinda everything in that one little report, and so.
I have a question about the digital board. Is it a screen or is it a digital, like, dot board? Or have you seen it?
Avert your eyes.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know what it's called.
Are you talking about the?
Is it dot matrix style or is it like a screen?
It
Like,
is a screen,
it's a
high
real
def LED screen.
fantastic. We can put QR codes on there and people can take a picture of it
Yes.
and go right to the
And
page.
get information?
Oh, no.
Stop.
No.
This is a little crazy.
I will say that I have heard comments already from people about the wall with heels coming. That kind of created a little bit of a buzz just because they saw it and it's
That's
like
a good
they
post.
don't know what it is. We're starting to talk now and I think that's fantastic because we're gonna need a lot of talk. So I just wanted to comment on that also, but I agree, I think that that's a really good idea. The biggest complaint is we don't have communication, and if we don't have communication, it's not our fault anymore. It's because nobody's going out and they're not looking for what we're providing.
I know.
I mean,
And
I
if
don't
they
know what else we
don't,
can
They
do.
really wanna know, there's so much information to find.
we're gonna be doing the profile piece that Lorelai will be rolling out at our next meeting, and then that will go to every mailbox, so that, you know, the drought of communication, I don't know, I mean, we didn't hear it quite as much last year when we were sending out mailers so much. I mean, we may want to revisit this about sending a few more things in the US mail, because we do find that we have better penetration to the community, so.
Can I just add one more thing? People talk a lot about the staff and what do they do? I know this sounds horrible, but could we get names, people, even the first names of people in their categories for the projects that are running, so that people can see that our team is actually working? There's not just one person who's the entire building department, and there's not just one person who's facilities, and it's a team of people. And I think we need to communicate that, yeah, we have 35, is it 35 employees? 30?
Getting closer to 40.
And so we have 40 people.
40 people that don't do anything.
That don't do anything as far as the town is concerned, because they don't see what you guys do. They can't connect a name to what you're doing. And I think it'd be really cool if we could maybe get a list of, the projects that each group of people is doing, so that they can see that we actually have a team and the reason that they're there. I know it sounds crazy, but
I mean,
I know, but people's
I-
perception is, we have all these people, but nobody does anything. I mean, that's kind of the feeling, that's what I get back from some people, so I just wanted to.
I don't hear
I
that.
don't know. I
know
mean,
that, but-
there might be somebody saying something like that, but it's like saying, well, my husband's an upper level manager, like, who's actually working under you? You have somebody that's like, people,
Yeah.
employees are,
Well, I think
like
it's
town
broken
staff
down a lot
are.
with our staff directory.
Yes,
And
it
within the
is.
staff directory, it does break out
Yeah.
everyone,
I totally
their,
agree with that.
their areas of
Mhm.
jobs.
Maybe we can just connect it to the planning department and have.
Are you saying like online or
Oh, no, I
in
would
our
say,
presentation?
no, I'd say online, no,
Oh.
not in here, we
And I
all
feel
know,
like-
we all know who's here in our team, but what I'm thinking of is if online, if it's listed out, like, the planning department did this, and this, and they have a link to who those
I
people
think that's
are.
burdensome to ask of staff, just
Not broken down, but
for
individually.
the fact that they are really, really busy.
I
Did
know
you
they
not
are.
see our consent agenda today?
Yeah.
I mean, but people are gonna wonder, but, I mean, if you go on the website, you can find, isn't there like a staff directory?
There is.
Yeah, that's what I just said,
so,
yeah.
So,
Plus, I think that would change daily, you'd have to have some.
well, yeah, yeah. you know, you have your main,
It's
you know,
too much.
I don't know, if people think that we have 40 employees and they're not doing anything, then they're really disconnected.
Well, they are disconnected, that's the problem.
And I mean, I better stop.
That, you know, I have to really think about that. From, you know, I'm not sure naming people would make people think we did any more than we did. For example, the project, some of the things you guys passed tonight, that project, I think everybody in here plus another 5 touch some piece of that. So you can't really identify a project with a person, because we work as a team and we collaborate on everything. I mean, that, you know, what make some people consider boring, the sewer study. Okay, so Eric and I sat in, you know, 5 meetings with that. We know what all that meant, by the way. So Eric, your picture gets to go up next to that. But what I'm saying is, that has so much, I mean, if you were selling that, you'd say development pays its way. That's what that study said.
Yeah.
We're getting $450,000 for that Home Depot building. Before, we would have gotten maybe 50. So we did a study that they paid for, so you didn't pay for that study. And out of the study comes, they have to pay a lot of money for sewer because development pays its own way. So, and I'm sorry to divert from what you wanted to do to identify staff members, but
Maybe not even.
so much of what we do is, you just see the final product, but the amount of work that went into that from staff, from Robin and Erica, and Dino this weekend burning the midnight oil to get that building open, I don't know that people would care. I mean, I'm not trying to diminish what they think,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure a picture or a name
Maybe
connotes
just,
what they do.
maybe just the teams. I mean, the actual, you know, if we have the planning, that it shows, at least connects all the different groups of people that are working on a single project.
You just want them to yell at them instead of you.
No, I'm just trying to figure out a way to communicate that, you know, yes, we have all these people, and I know I keep getting, you know, God, we have all these people, why don't we go back to contracting? Why don't we go back to outsourcing? Why don't we go back to blah, 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 whatever it is?
Gosh, I hear the opposite of that.
No, that's all I hear is, we were saving so much money going the other way, and it's like, no, but I can't explain it because I could explain it, and I do explain it, but it doesn't make as much sense if I'm trying to tell them as it does to say, well, these 3 teams of 12 people worked on this project, and we would have to outsource that to 3 different groups of people, and it would cost an extreme amount of money, way more than we pay for the people to be here. And it's really gets convoluted. I'm just trying to think of a way to make a picture for people,
I
because.
think we're so small and so mighty that we have to use a team to move a project,
And
you know?
yeah, I don't know how to explain it though to people. I don't know. Anyway,
Well,
just
sorry,
an
you're
idea.
right.
Just an idea. I don't want to take your time with that. You got too much else going on, but
It's not the time, it's just that how do
How you
you
do it.
yeah, I don't know how to
reveal the information? I mean, back to the original statement that we're not communicating. I mean, we are always looking for new ways. That sign will be a one-way, but a QR code for sure.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
fantastic.
you will hear about the sign, because it's big,
Yep.
it's bright, and it's fantastic resolution.
And it's free.
You will hear about it.
Oh, you'll hear about it. But once the content becomes more important than the sign, that's when you know you've crossed the bridge.
Yeah.
And that'll happen really quickly. So,
Thank you. I just wanna reiterate did everybody see the consent agenda today and the amount of information and really good presentations in our packet, but that keeps this from being a meeting that goes till 10 or 11 tonight? I just wanna say thank you to staff. The information in our packets, the details that you put in there so that we can just go, this is business as usual, this is stuff that just needs to keep moving so we can be moving forward, so that how many people worked on the, it's called Frogger, that took me a second to figure out, how are we approving, where is this, what, oh, I know it. But it's awesome to see the consent agenda with some very just, you know, this is part of a process and it's not a public hearing and things that need to be in the business part of our meeting, but to be able to go through it, I mean, this meeting could have been so long if it wasn't, so I wanna say thank you for that. But also that staff does such great jobs at presenting the information that it's easy to go, yes, they, you know, cross their T's, dotted their I's, and it's very easy to say, yep, to all of this, cause, you know, we still get questions of, why was that, how, I didn't hear you bring it up, they didn't talk about it, and to kinda let them know that these are just kind of stepping stones to the ones that we need to vote on. So thank you for that. That's it.
David, do you have anything to bring up?
Not at this time, I'm good, thank you.
Deb, anything? I just wanna say there's coffee, the mayor resumes this Saturday. Mary makes the best coffee, doesn't drink it, but makes the best coffee. I also wanna say thank you to staff for coming to the meetings with us for emergency planning. We do these quarterly, and Denise Bradshaw does a wonderful job, and we missed you, Chief, on that call, and you and Erica too. But I know you guys are busy doing things, so I just wanna say that this emergency planning is like detail, every line item, and it's a very interesting and a thorough process on planning for any kind of emergency for Mead. So thank you, and thanks, Mary, for updating the board on the books and with our virtual. It really helps us a lot, I think, go through, and we have our I-25 meeting coming up Wednesday night. Dr. Cobb canceled their work session, and Lorelei and I are now on the docket for every Wednesday at 4:30, with the whole, I don't wanna say teams, but they are teams throughout the country. And we have a meeting with the Wall of the Heels. So every Wednesday we have a meeting until we get down to the nitty gritty of what we need. So, the first one we went to was how to kind of get your team together. This one is, what is it gonna be about? How to get a good site layout. Oh, okay. Anyway, so I just wanted to say thank you to all the staff, all the meetings that we go through on a daily basis. So, that's it for me, and now we'll move into executive session.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. I wanted to say on an email that you sent out about, the CML legislative update is coming up on February 17th, and it's super interesting and not at all like completely over your head. So if anyone's interested in going, I'm planning on going.
Is it in person or is it virtual?
It's in person, and it's usually at history museum conference rooms. But it's usually it's interesting because the legislative stuff. I mean, that's where I kind of get it's a lot to begin. But CML does such a great job of updating. So if anybody does want to go, there's some of us going, and it's a really good way to get the information in language we can understand a little better. So just wanted to put that out there.
And I need to register you by
Yeah,
Thursday.
oh, that's what,
Let me
because she
know.
has to register quickly, so
By
if you wanna
Thursday.
go, it's awesome.
Got it.
I did wanna say one more thing as I was scrolling through your manager's report. I know you include the police report on that. I think maybe just a link to the police report on there would,
Yeah, cause that's already up there.
you know, if you're posting it for everybody, like, I don't think we need the whole police report on there with the manager's report. I don't know, just saying.
I like it, cause it's in all over the place.
That's
But
true.
I just like it.
Or you just give a link to it, but anyways. I love your report. Get it out there.
Oh, you mean
Super
when
helpful.
she puts out a report on the,
Yeah.
on
Online.
Oh, okay.
Not
Oh,
on our
yeah.
packet, no, I like it. I'm saying,
You're
we're
like,
gonna
don't
post it
mention it.
online for people to go and look at. I don't necessarily think we need the whole police report attached on there, but maybe just a link to the police
Well,
report
cause
on
the
there.
police
maybe,
already
or
put
something
the
like that.
police report
Yes.
on theirs.
Oh, that's true. The police already have theirs, so maybe a link to them. There we go.
Okay.
So,
Anything else?
okay, executive session, here we
Yes.
come.
Is there a motion to go into executive session?
What does it say?
I move to go into executive session pursuant to CRS sections 24-6-4024A and 4024E to discuss the potential acquisition of property by the town and to determine negotiating positions and instructing negotiators regarding the terms of the acquisition.
Second.
Roll call please, Mary.
Trustee Cartwright?
Yep.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams?
Yes.
Trustee Broadhead?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow?
Yes. Motion carries. The time now is 7:55, and we will turn off the recording and adjourn to executive session. We will restart the recording for the executive session.
Recording